Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Hey, Mickey
Good.
G, how are you
Good,
today, girl?
good afternoon. I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to be here and excited to talk about our topic today.
I know. And then we need to get out in this beautiful weather.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes.
the topic today is what mature women want, and how do you think men would describe what love is to them? And I tell you, the reason I came up with this topic is not mine, really. I saw a reel or something with Jill Scott in it talking about all she wanted. And I thought, I'm the same way. Men think that we want so much when what we want is really simple. It's not really a lot that we're asking for. And I don't know if the men are aware of that we really are not asking for a whole lot. It's very simplistic. And I thought I would bring it to our show because for me, basically, at this stage, mature women, let's say 45 and over. You would hope that at 40, some people are mature, but they're not. So we're going to say 45 and over. What do
Okay.
women want ages 45 and over? If you listen to a man, they will say, we want the bankroll, we want the bills paid, we want the bag. I say no. A mature woman already pretty much has her foundation set, and she's looking for love, compassion, time, quality time, someone she can laugh and talk with, like kid around and have fun, kind of revert back to those childish, giddish ways. Um, Someone that's on in sync with her mentally, like they kind of know her vibe and what she's thinking before she ever says it based on a reaction to something. It's very simple. I can speak for myself. That's what I want. I want someone that truly cares for me, loves me for who I am, how I am, unconditionally, and I the same with them. Not the bag, not, you don't want a bag man, but you're not looking for, at this stage, most of us are not looking for someone to pay our bills and to take care of us and things like that. If you happen to attract one, that's just gravy, but that's not what the majority of us are looking for in a relationship, and I'm speaking for myself. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, but first, I want to promote this and tell you that you can hear our show on Village Global Network on Mondays, EWO at 10 a.m., powered by Zeno FM with additional monitoring through online radio box on the following stations: Culture Shock Radio in Canada, Radio Forcio, Mexico, Rockbox FM in USA, and Wapter Music FM Guadalupe.
And
All
that's
right.
my co-host, and that's why she is that.
We have to have each other's
Thank
back,
you,
right?
girl.
You're welcome. I
Thank
thought,
you.
am I going to take this in? But I was listening to what you were saying. And I think at this stage, what we don't want is to train a child in the way that they should go. So we don't want little boys. We don't want someone who is just out playing games, who wants us for sex. We don't want to be sugar mamas. We don't want any of that. We want someone who matches us intellectually, someone who matches us in our interest. Someone, for some of us who have traveled some, we want someone who's interested in doing some of the same things that we do. So we can have a good conversation, a rich conversation with someone. It doesn't, the focus isn't the bedroom. As I see so often on social media, they talk about that a lot. But we want something deeper, something more meaningful, and someone to respect us, have a mutual respect in a relationship. Um, Not necessarily looking for the bag. It also kind of depends on what the man is looking for. If you complement each other in a
Mhm.
relationship, because you might be looking for different things. So that's what I
Exactly. And
think.
those are things, you're absolutely right. And those are things that come up in a conversation after you meet. But you're right, the
Right.
yin to the yang,
Right.
like
Right.
you have commonalities about yourself and your interests. And I forgot the travel thing because that's like at the top of my list. And if someone says to me, I've been all around the world, I don't want to travel. Okay, well, I do. So we're right there, not compatible. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
But let-
If you don't want to do anything, what is the point? What is your point of even being with me? And when I say what are you bringing to the table, I'm not even talking about finances. What I
I
want to know
know.
is who are you, and
Mhm.
how can I enhance your life, and how can you enhance my life in a relationship? Because at this stage of the game, I'm not interested in wasting time. So much time
Amen.
is going on before me. Why would I
Mhm.
want to waste the rest of my life trying to teach you how to be a grown up? Why would I want to waste time in my life with someone I'm not even compatible with? So if it's that kind of game, I'm not interested in it. You can take that to someone who doesn't have a lot going on, but intellectually and life experience, I have a lot going on for myself. And so I don't want to play around in the playground for a companion.
I
No.
agree. I agree. Listen, so many times you may talk to people, and if you hear the just the eyes, and there's no we incorporated in
Right,
there, or if
right,
you talk to people, because a lot of men are satisfied watching games and sitting in the recliner and watching TV. I met some that they had no interest in doing anything adventurous in life, just at home. Now, I didn't get in depth as to why they're complacent with doing nothing, but most of us in our mature years have spent our previous years working at home, and working and just working. Period. Raising kids and uh, assisting husbands, that when we get to this point in our life, we want to explore more
right,
as
right,
far as what's outside of the city or the state. And some of us have traveled already solo, but it's more intimate when
right,
maybe you go with your man or your husband or whatever. It's different than
yeah,
traveling with the girls or traveling
yeah,
solo. So
right,
conversationally wise, it's important to touch on all those
right,
things, even at a mature age, as far as what it is that you're looking for. And I'm like Jill, I even like a guy that doesn't mind going to Lowe's or Home Depot and let's paint a room. I painted my room by myself last week, and I painted a few rooms by myself, but be nice to have somebody in there with you,
right,
helping you do
right,
the DIY stuff.
right, right. Well, just because you can do it yourself doesn't mean you should have to do it yourself
Exactly.
or
Right.
by yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's intimacy there too. Even when you're doing
right,
projects together.
right,
Even as like
right,
I believe you and your ex did gardening. Because I commented
right.
on I would love to go walking in your
Oh,
garden a long
yeah,
time ago. And you
yeah,
expressed to me that that was something that you did together. That
right,
was a
right,
way that you guys spent quality time. Different
right,
things
right.
like that. But
Yeah,
to hear guys, and I see it every day on social media, make it look like all we want is their money. That's why I wanted to bring this to a YouTube podcast or a podcast and a radio talk show, because it's not all about that for most mature women. Now maybe 20, 30 still playing those games, but I think for the mature woman, we have more substance to us
yeah,
than
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I, to be fair to the 30 somethings, not all of them are playing games. Some of them are coming to where we are. They're building something. And so by the time you get to where we are, you've pretty much established who you are, what you want to do. And I think a lot of us at this stage of life, we don't want to hang around bars and clubs and doing that whole vibe. We have grown beyond that. So we want a good conversation. We want to listen to music. We want to walk in the park. We want to sit across from you and talk about life and experiences because we've chalked up a lot of experiences at this point. And when you said intimacy, a lot of people think intimacy is sexual, but it isn't necessarily. Intimacy, I think it was Bishop Jakes that said, into me see.
Mm-hmm.
When you can hold hands, when you can look in each other's eyes, when you can talk about things that mean something, a touch is intimate. Those kinds of things are things that we want because that brings about a quality relationship. Not quantities of relationships, that's a whole other thing. Those are probably situationships.
Right.
But having that quality time with a person, I think is so meaningful.
So you hear that, men? Not all 30 and 40-year-olds are shallow, basically, is what she said. But I see, and I addressed it as what I see on social media.
Right.
Is men saying women just want the bag. Women are not coming to the table with anything. They're coming to the table with nothing, but they're wanting all of this other stuff. And I don't know who those women are that they're talking about, because the women that I know got a little something to come to the table with besides money. They have all those things that you just mentioned, and some have that in money. But we are decategorized as just wanting the bag. And so that's why I brought this topic to light, because I would like for them to know that there's a whole lot of women out there in the world that look beyond that. That's not shallow and not looking for just simply you to pay for our meal all the time, or our bills, or our clothes. And so I did a little asking people, what is it my age, and I would say 45 and older, what is it that you look for in a man? And every single woman said just what you and I said. But then we have to say that's the mature 45 and older, right? I didn't talk to 30, 40, 44 and under. I really didn't. That might be another podcast. But I think from what I see, the men seem to think that that's what we're about. And I just thought, man, where are they getting that from?
Yeah. Well, if they've come up with us, they should know better. If they have been in the playground looking for girlfriends and thinking all the women are that way based on that experience, and that's very short-sighted, I would think.
Or it's where they're looking to. It could be where they're looking.
Right. Could be where they're looking.
Yes.
Right. And so I've often said, go places where things are that you enjoy doing, and you'll find the people who enjoy doing that also.
Right.
But just hanging out in clubs and things, I won't say I have a club bias, but that's just not my vibe. I like, just nice music and just not that stressful club situation kind of thing. I enjoy going to dinner with my significant other. I like sitting talking with him, and so it's a lot deeper, but also simple. Those are simple things. It's not rocket science. It's very simple. Sit down and talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. And once you do that, you can let some walls down and then be able to cultivate a relationship and build trust.
Agree. Well, girl, I don't have the club vibe now, but I can surely tell you I did my share of it when I was younger. And I can tell you now, when I go to a club, I feel like a fish out of water. There is nothing there for me.
Nothing.
Nothing. But I have done my fair share. For me to say I didn't, I would not be telling the truth. Yeah. I just know there's nothing in the club for me now. No. The other thing that I want to add to this conversation, which will tie into what mature women want, is also the second part was, how do you think men would describe what love is to them? Now, because I'm not a man, that was a good question and I didn't know. And this is a 3-part question. So I sent out 6 text messages. 4 men answered. One, I think he told me he's 35. I did want the different age categories up to probably in the 60s. Okay, I'm gonna say mid 60s. So
Okay.
the first one is 58 years old, and he said, so the question was, how do you think men would describe what love is to them? So he said most men would describe love, true love, as a soft place to land, peace, their completion. There are a few men that see love only as a place to put his body parts. To be honest, most men were not taught about love from their fathers. They learned it later in life through mistakes that they made. Now, that was one. I'm going to read them all to you. This one here is 59 years old. He said, I think love is something that comes from your relationship with God initially. And when grown in that area of life, then it's almost instinctive when participating in any relationship, whether it be family or a partner, because you'll consider God in all that you do, day or night, and you'll think in God's way, in my humble opinion. So he was 59. And then this guy is in his 70s. I think he's like 72. And he said, well, Miss Golden, I think there are two camps. One is physical, all romance, emotional entanglement. The other is physical, all visual sex, dominating. They call it love, but all possessive ownership. And to this person, it's love. To some, it is trans. Okay, that's the next part. So he was 72. And then the next person is 35. He said, um, love to me is to know when someone has my back. No matter if I'm up or down, someone to support me and motivate me when I'm not feeling as motivated. Love with the right person makes you feel complete. Things can be going wrong, but it's not too bad when it doesn't feel too bad when you can talk to that person about it. I have a deal with women that put love. Okay, that's the second part. So what do you think about that? There's three parts, and I'll get to the other one. Oh, wait a minute. There's
Okay.
one more guy, and he is I believe he is like 50.
Okay.
And as you see, I tried to get a range. A range. Let's see. Bear with me, everybody. Um, so he's either 50, and he said, love, his was very short and brief. Love is caring, sharing, respect, loyalty, faithfulness, communication, respecting your spouse, even if there is not one in your presence. And I don't know what that means. Expecting your spouse, even if they're not, expecting your spouse, even if they're not in your presence. So if they're not physically with you at the moment. So the one that was 35 was very mature. That was a very mature answer. And I believe that the one that brought God into it was on point with
Yeah, I
it.
agree.
And then the other two as well. And basically, these are mature men, except for the 35-year-old. The rest of them are golden like us. And they seem to be on the same wavelength as we are, as far as what they want and expect in a relationship.
Yeah. Well, I didn't quite get with the 72. I'm not sure I even understood what that concept was about the physical, etc. Although physical attraction does play in, but I heard a lot of physicality in that. The one about a soft place to land. I have a brother, I have a father, uh, and a significant other. And what I find is that they're out fighting the world. I've learned this over my years. Why do they have to come home and fight you too? There should be a place where they can come to you and share what they went through, and you can receive them without giving them another fight.
I agree.
So that soft place to land, I get that. The God love, I say God is love, love is God. And so if you have one, you have the other. So if you learn how to love God, You learn how to love yourself, you can love someone else because you know
Mm-hmm.
what love is because it's in practice. You're practicing love. And the last thing, the 35-year-old who was quite mature in his answer
Yes. I told
was
him that.
respecting your partner in and out of their presence. So that also speaks to integrity, which is
Yeah.
really big for me. It's doing what you say you're going to do and let your words and your actions meet each other. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think those were all good answers to what the
And
men
you
were
know what I
saying.
told him? He
What's
asked
that?
me, the 35-year-old, if he was on the right track. And I said, you know what? I actually think you need to date an older woman. I'm like, you could go to 40, you know.
Mhm. Right.
Hey, I think you could go older because I feel there's a 10-year window. I
Yeah.
always said that forwards or
Yeah.
backwards. And
Yeah.
most of the guys that I dated before I got married was always younger. And then my
Yeah.
foolish self thought I wanted a mature man. I should have stuck with the young one. But
But it's your vibe though. Okay, so you're a youthful woman of a certain age. I'm a youthful woman of a certain age. I
yeah,
have I have had younger significantly, and I've had older significantly. There's a sweet spot for me, kind of in the middle, close, probably closer to my age, but a few years younger. But I think it depends on the personality of the man too, because just like this 35-year-old, very mature in his thinking, he could probably carry on a good conversation. He may have been well traveled. He might be in business, so he might have a lot of experience in life that he might bring to someone maybe 10 years his senior. I wouldn't
hmm,
go 20, 30 years, but
yeah.
maybe 10 years his senior.
And it's interesting that you would say, I'm not advocating one way or the other. But
Yeah.
it's interesting you would say I wouldn't go 20, 30 years when this is a different podcast. But I know
Yeah.
women that have dated, have married men 30 years older than them.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
friend whose husband was older than her mother, right? And they were married 30 some years. And they had a good
Yeah.
marriage, you know. And she
Yeah.
was a homemaker like yourself for most of
Yeah.
her marriage because he was
Right.
old school. But, you know, they had compatibility, they traveled, they enjoyed life. And that's not the only one. I have a few friends and acquaintances that married 20, 30 years older than them. And they women mature sooner than men. And I imagine that's why that worked because
Mm-hmm.
we're always more mature than the people our age, the men our age. And that's probably why that worked. But I just
Yeah.
thought that was interesting that you say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You make a good point, though. You really make a good
yeah,
point because I have relatives like that. Had
yeah,
thought about that. I guess I'm
yeah,
thinking about myself and my
yeah,
relationship with my last husband, who was 13 years my senior. And at
yeah,
some point, the age difference started to show up in our conversations
yeah.
and things. So I guess it also is compatibility more than anything.
I have a girlfriend who's, and I'm gonna get back on topic, but this
Yeah.
is a good conversation. And I have a girlfriend whose mother um, married somebody the same age as her,
Hmm.
like
Mhm.
20 years her junior. This is the woman.
Right.
And my friend said, I have no problem with it. He loves her. She said he has kind of an old soul, like he was more mature. He takes good care of my mother. And she said he doesn't run the street and do all that stuff. She said because he truly loved her mother, she had no problem with it. She didn't call him daddy and all of that because they same
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she said she truly had no problem with it. And then I had a friend in California uh, who I dated her son when I was 17, and we broke up, and we always kept in touch. He's deceased now,
Mhm.
and all of her children preceded her in death. And this is how God works. God already knew that was going to happen. But
Right.
when I was 17, she married a man 18 years her junior who was the same age as her son, who I dated,
Mm.
right? And now I'm
Right.
17 thinking, wow, that's weird. You know, at 17, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
He didn't
Yeah.
have a problem with it. The son that I was dating, her son,
Mhm.
did not have a problem with it because he said that he knew that man loved his mother. Well, guess what? Each one of her kids died before her, and that man
Wow.
took care of her. So she just died last year from
Wow.
Alzheimer's. But
Wow.
but as she was 82, because keep in mind, I told you she was older. She was the mother of a guy I
Mhm.
dated. But
Mhm.
I said all that to say that we can't see the future, but God can. So
Right.
sometimes he's already taken care of something before you
Right.
even know it's going to happen. She
Right.
lost her youngest son first, playing Russian roulette. She lost her
Wow.
only daughter in an MVA, a drunk driver, hit her
Oh.
daughter, and then
Mm.
all of these were traumatic deaths. And then
Tragedies. Yeah.
the one that I dated got robbed. He cashed his paycheck, and that was 10 years ago. And I don't know
Mm.
why he was cashing a check because there was direct deposit, but he
Right.
was cashing his paycheck, and somebody
Wow.
was watching him. And when he came out of the bank, they robbed him and beat him to
Mm.
death and took his money. So I
Oh,
said all that to say, even
you
though
never
her
know.
children had no problem, they were my age and your age and
Hmm.
younger, they
Right.
had no problem with their mother marrying someone 20 years her junior, which was good because they loved each other. But God already knew that was going to happen and put somebody, the right somebody, that
Right.
truly loved
Right.
her in her life. He called me 3 months ago to tell me that she had died, and he's my
Mm.
age.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. I like
yeah,
that. And I kind of stand corrected on that.
yeah,
Um, because there are many relationships like that. I have cousins that one in particular married a man who's older than her parents, and he
yeah,
recently passed away a couple of years ago in his 80s, and she's in her 60s area, and he was probably pretty close to 90, as a matter of fact, and they were
yeah,
married 30, 40 years. They were married a long time.
yeah.
So yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I just in my experience, some of the younger
Mhm.
men who have stepped to me or tried to inbox me, it was there was just no point because there was
Yeah.
no conversation besides, "Hey, beautiful, I think you're beautiful. Hey,
You tickle me. You
can,
said no problem.
can, you can
Nothing
okay,
outside of
so
that. Huh?
yeah, just nothing besides that. I want to get to know you better. Okay, what do you
That's
want to
funny,
know?
Nikki.
you
That's
know,
funny.
like
That is
what
too funny.
so but
Mhm.
they can't go too far in their
Right.
conversation besides that. Now there are others who are probably, I'm sure many that are not like that. It's just been my experience. I thought, really?
I'm like
But
you. It's like, okay, dun, 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 next topic,
exactly.
please.
So I don't
And
have
if
any other
I have to
topics,
pull
just
the
that you're beautiful.
conversation, if I have to pull a conversation out of you, if we're having a hard time communicating and just having
Right.
a simple conversation, next, because I'm a sapiosexual. You
Me
got
too.
to make love to my mind first,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
If you
That's
can't talk
right.
me out, if you don't know what's going on in the world,
That's
and
right. That's right.
we okay, we on the
Yes.
same page there.
I vibe with some intellect. I
Me too.
vibe with some intellect. Yes.
Somebody that can teach me something, honey, and actually know
Exactly.
what he's talking about. Because there's a lot of times they will pretend or speak on knowing something, but
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
don't. But the next part
Be-
of that was I
Okay.
asked these guys if they felt like relationships were transactional. And I'll tell you after I give you the answers where my head was at when I asked that question. But the
Okay.
answers that I got wasn't what I was looking for, but it's the answers that I got. So the
Mhm.
first one is 58 said, the question again is, does it appear transactional? He said, yes. I think it should be transactional when it's love. Dating should only be transactional in the ideal of respect and information. So I didn't understand that. So I went back later on to ask, to elaborate on that with him. The one that is 58 said, actually, it is transactional gold, and generally, most men sow more when appreciated more. So I didn't understand. I think I understand that. We'll talk about it in a minute. I think I understood what he was saying to that question. And then the one that 72 said, to some, it is transactional. Money do their talking. They believe money can buy emotions, affection, and loyalty. Um, he says some of the men are totally old school and will cover all expenses, and the woman takes on the traditional roles. Then there's the progressive male where he pays everything, but the woman may work, but she does whatever she wants with her money, but it's all physical. And then he goes, then there is the progressive, such as myself. We work together to build and grow together as a unit. So that was the 72-year-old. And then the 50-year-old said, um, here's always hard to find. Hold on. He said, the transactional part. It's not transactional to him. He said, I can't speak to any other men. That's all he said. So he didn't elaborate.
Okay.
And then the 35-year-old said, he said he has dealt with women that put love in the transactional state about their bills and buying them things. He said he's also met women that are not transactional. They actually are about affection, nourishment, and feeling like they have a partner in life and not just paying his bills, him paying their bills. So those were the answers. And I'm thinking that, the other one said, oh, yeah. So I don't know what the one that said actually it is transactional, Golden. Generally, men sow more than when appreciated more. I think he's trying to say that men give women money more than they get it in return. Is that what you took from that? I'm gonna go one by one. Is that what you took from that?
Oh, they were also different. The
The first one,
transactional part.
the one that I just asked you about, he said, I'm gonna go one by one. He
Okay.
said he felt like men sow more transactionally when appreciated more. And I think what he's trying to say is that if you give a lot to a woman, they show more appreciation that way
Right.
than if you
Right.
don't. That's how I perceive that. Is that what you take
So,
from that?
yeah, let me address them one at a time. Yes, I agree. And I also think that's a human condition. So if you do something for someone and they show appreciation, you're going to want to do more because that appreciation feels good that you haven't wasted your efforts, your money, your time. And so I think that's
Oh,
also a human condition.
but what he's saying is the woman shows more appreciation the more the man does. Just the opposite of what you just said. Do you believe
Okay.
that to be true?
I don't
That,
think it's a gender thing. I think it's a human thing. But that's his opinion.
yeah,
And some
that's what
women
we're
don't
talking.
show more appreciation. Some people don't. Some women don't show a lot of appreciation for what a man does. But I think when she does, it's easier for him to do it again.
Yeah, and he's
I
saying if
mean,
he doesn't do it, she won't show it. He's saying if the men don't show money, don't give money, the women won't show appreciation. I
it depends on what
disagree.
her
I'm trying to get you
currency
to
is.
say about his comment. I'm
Yeah,
a disagreeing with him, and I'm trying to see if you agree or disagree. I don't think
I
that
know.
if you're not giving money, because I don't ask men for money, but I
Right.
show
It depends.
appreciation for them as a person, and it's not transactional. He's trying to say if he's
Right.
not giving you money, you're not showing appreciation
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is about money,
for him.
and right for him. And so it depends on what the woman's currency is. Her currency may not be money. And of course, he's saying money. I get that. He's saying
Yeah,
he
because
gives
that's the
money.
question. Yeah.
Right, right. But You know, that's
Yeah, and
that.
the reason I disagreed with him is like I
Mhm.
said, he's saying if you don't give a woman money, she won't show you appreciation. And
That's
I'm
not
saying
true.
I never ask for money, but
No.
I show appreciation. So I
Right.
disagreed with him on
Right.
that,
Okay.
on
And
that particular
yeah,
one.
yeah. And the way you put that, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I disagree with that. You know,
right.
because not
So the
every
next
woman's
guy
currency. Yeah.
said he thinks it should be transactional when it's love. Dating should only be transactional in the eye. Okay, he said, yes, I think it should be transactional when it's love. Dating should only be transactional in the ideal of respect and information. And I didn't understand that.
Okay, so this is what I looked up the definition of transactional relationship. So I'm going to
Mhm.
put that out there based on a definition from
Read
Very
it.
Well Mind. It says a transactional relationship is one where each person does things for the other, expecting to get something in return. It's give and take with a bit of quid pro quo. Each person is willing to help the other out as long as the favor is returned immediately or sometime down the line. So they're not
Okay, in that
necessarily
case, then
talking.
I agree with him
Yeah,
because
it's
he's
not
saying it should be when it's love, when they're in love,
right,
not just when
right,
they're dating, but if they're actually in love. He said when they're dating, it should only be transactional with respect and
right.
processing of information.
Right. And no one person should carry the whole load of a relationship. There
Hmm.
should always be a give and take, some kind of a cyclical type thing. There's
Hmm.
always flowing. I give to you, you give to me, and we do it because we want to, not because, oh, well, I bought you dinner last time, so this time you buy dinner
Right,
necessarily. You know, that's what you do when you're in a relationship.
right. So the 72-year-old, he's the one that you didn't understand the thing about what men
The
see in love.
physical,
And
yeah.
now his transactional answer is long, and so we'll go through it together because I
Okay.
had a hard time understanding it. But I
Okay.
agree with the last point about after you read the definition that it should be transactional if you're in
Right.
love with somebody.
Right.
Okay, this guy, the 72-year-old, said to some it is transactional. Money does their talking. They believe that money can buy emotions, affection, love, and loyalty. Some men are totally old school and will cover all the expenses, and the woman takes on a traditional role. Then there's the progressive male, where he pays everything, but the woman may work and get to keep her money for whatever she wants to keep it for. Then there's the progressive person. I thought he said the other one was progressive. Some are totally old school. So he's categorized two different types of progressive.
Right.
He
Okay.
says this other category of progressive
Mhm.
is such as himself. He believes that they work together to build and grow together as a unit. So that would be what the second person just said. When there's love involved, it should
Right.
be. So his
Right.
answer's kind of convoluted a little bit. Um,
Yeah, it depends on the culture of the relationship and the individual people, what their
yeah,
currency is. Just like people talk about love languages,
yeah,
some is giving gifts, some are acts of service. So it depends on what your currency is. It's not always money as a transaction.
right.
So that's why when they were talking about money, I couldn't really connect with it because I know that different people have different forms of currency in a relationship.
Well, I think in this, the way the question is imposed, we're talking about
Yeah,
currency
yeah,
because remember we talked about what women want. We talked about a lot of men think we want just
yeah.
the
The
money.
bag.
So the
Mhm.
second part of this to the men, that's where we're going with it. Is it about
Right.
money? Do you feel like that? I was trying to see if I was polling to see if
Right,
they felt the same as what I saw online.
right,
And
right,
so I agree with you in the broader sense. If you want to get real
right,
deep, transaction
yeah,
is more than money. But
right,
in this sense, we're talking about currency because that seems to be what men think we want is money,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Well, and based on some of these answers, not necessarily,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm trying to see what the 50-year-old said. He said it's not transactional to him. He can't speak for other men. That's all he said.
right, right.
I can't say much more about
Well,
that.
now we know where he stands.
Ah, okay, and then the third part of it was, do you feel like there's that men was do men look more into the physical realm of a relationship, and he says the 58-year-old, let's see, he didn't really elaborate on the physical. The 58-year-old skipped over that. Maybe he didn't feel comfortable answering that, with some woman asking him about it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
he
yeah,
didn't answer
yeah.
that. Let's see. The 58-year-old said, does it appear just physical? No. But physical interaction is usually far more important for men than it is women. And I agree. We are managed by our integrity and self-respect. If we had any, most of
Right.
us lose our integrity with a willing woman. If a man is in a committed relationship with one woman, she has to understand that physical is his nature given by God. You want to elaborate on that one?
I have to agree in large part because of the way men are wired. But I think at this stage of our life, they're not going to find the Barbie doll that they fantasize about all the
Mm-hmm.
time. We would have had children. We would have probably gone through menopause.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as long as you put yourself together and you seem to care about yourself physically, I think that would be attractive to a man. And I think that there's some credence to what you were saying, what he was saying about that.
Yeah. And the 72-year-old said it's all physical, period.
Okay, well, mm. Well, for him, I get that. Yeah, I won't go there.
The oldest one said, heck yes. What you talking about?
We're trying to get all deep and stuff. He's just like to the point. Yes, it's physical.
Yes, it is physical. Okay.
Yeah.
And the 35-year-old, let's see what he said. I thought that was funny. The oldest one went, heck yeah, it is. Let's see. I don't believe the 35-year-old addressed that part either. So no, he didn't. He did not address the physical part.
He's done well
Oh,
for
yes,
himself.
he
What did
oh
he
yes,
say?
he did. He said when it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, physical or mental is what it starts, is where it starts. Oh, when it comes down to it, physically or mentally is where it starts. He says he can't deal with anyone ugly, but the mental is going to keep him around. I think
Right.
what he meant was like the
Initial attraction.
sapiosexual. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we were talking about
Right.
physical. He's
Right.
talking about the he's
Yeah.
more a sapiosexual like you and I.
Right.
But they
Right.
can't be ugly, basically, is what he
Right.
said.
Right.
Um,
Right.
he said the mental is what's going to keep him around.
Right.
Um, Regardless, they would take care of each other. But
Mhm.
pitching in each other's lives where, I don't know, but we pitching in each other's lives where one is kind, the weak at. I don't know. I feel we come
Yeah.
together, we can come together as a team and enhance everything. Okay, so I
Right.
like that part. He's basically said even if she's not that good looking,
Mhm.
they can work together, come along together as a team, be
Mhm.
cohesive, and enhance
Right. Right.
each other
And,
that way.
right. And I think, of course, initially the looks are going to get him, but the
Yeah,
mind is going to keep him.
yeah,
And
that's what it
then
says.
they have a mutual respect and a mutual circuitry that keeps them going. So I like his answers.
Yeah, girl,
I
that's the
really
one I
liked his
said.
answers.
I said, you need to date over your age, because he told me
Yeah.
he meets a lot of he can't meet any serious minded women under 35, that they play a
Yeah.
lot of games. And I said, well, go over. I told him
Yeah.
he could go to
Yeah.
40, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
just playing it safe.
Yeah.
Because he does have a very mature mindset.
Right.
And he's always working. He has custody of his 13-year-old daughter, and
Mhm.
his life is about taking care of him and his daughter. He said he would
Right.
love to meet a lady that would not mind him being a single parent,
Mhm.
because when he meets them under 35, they don't even want to be bothered with his daughter. And
Ah,
you and I can relate to that.
right.
The kids are part of the package, right?
That's right. That's
They'll
right.
never go away, and you don't need a
Nope.
man or a woman who doesn't want to, accept your child as part of the
Right.
package.
Right.
So,
Right. I agree.
but a 40-year-old woman would do that, because more than likely she has hers. She has
Right.
her.
At this age, we're all gonna likely have children. Some people never have them, but
Right,
if you have them by this stage of the game, if you're 35 and you're meeting someone, they're gonna have a child,
right.
or you're gonna have a child. So they need to learn to accept that part, because that's part of a parent.
Exactly. Well,
Mhm.
Mickey, thank you for joining me on this podcast, What Mature Women Want, and how do you think men would describe love, what love is to them? I only polled uh, four to five, and they seem to think just like mature women,
Yeah.
that we have substance to us, people. So
Right. Right.
it's not
Yeah.
all about the bag, and it's not all about the bed, honey. It's about
No, it's
all of
not.
that in between is where we're at.
Now, how do these people find each other? That's another topic, right?
Girl, yeah. I had that
Because if
conversation. I had that conversation with my cousin James. I'm like,
yeah,
why can't the good women find the
I
good
think
men,
good.
and the
Yeah,
good men find the good women? Why? He's like, if
I
I
don't
knew
know.
that, I'd have one.
Accurate. Yeah. So we have to figure that out. If we knew that, we would be billionaires at this
We
point.
sure would, girl. Girl, we
If
got to
we
figure
knew.
it out. Start a dating business, not an online one,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you interview people and you get their background and you match them up. There's a lot of
Yeah.
those in Atlanta. I saw that
Yeah. Yeah.
on TV. There's a lot of Black-owned dating companies in
Yeah.
Atlanta. I don't think there is in Dallas, but
Yeah.
I
We'll have
just
to talk.
yeah, that's something to explore.
Yeah, it's something to explore. That's another topic. Oh, we could go into that one on another podcast. Like, how do you find each other?
We probably will.
We probably will.
Yes. But I
Yes,
want to thank you, Mickey, for joining me today. And I
it's
want
been
to thank
fun.
all our listeners for tuning in with Gab with Golden Bronze and Mickey G. You guys can watch us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Twitter every other Saturday, random times, but just keep a lookout for us. However, you can also watch us on VGN, which is Village Global Network, powered by Zeno FM, with additional monitoring through online radio box, beginning May the 20th. Every other week on a Monday at 10 a.m. You can find us on Culture Shock Radio, which is out of Canada, Radio Farcillo, which is out of Mexico, Wactor Music FM Guadalupe, which is in the Caribbean island near France. And you can download the VGN app off the Apple Store and Google Play Store. Please download it. Listen to Gab with Golden Bronze, and not only us. If you have time, listen to all the other amazing podcasters and
Yes.
talk shows out there on VGN Network. All right. So we thank you for
Okay.
coming. Come
Thank
again.
you for coming. Yes. We'll
Thank
see you
you,
next
Mickey.
time.
Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye, dear.